So today I have a fun little tutorial. We're going to be making a light bulb in Blender 4.2. And not only are we going to be modeling and adding materials to this light bulb, we're also going to be doing a little bit of simple compositing towards the end. So we get this nice glow effect. So I would say this is somewhere between beginner and intermediate. It's not too hard, but I'll be going a little bit fast just because it's not an absolute beginner tutorial. But if you know the basics of Blender, the real basics, you should be able to follow along just fine. So it's pretty beginner friendly. But the overall idea here is just to make this really nice light bulb and ramp it up with some compositing. And I will be putting up the final result here. I'll quickly show you the final light bulb onto my Patreon, and you guys can download that if you're on there. But that'll all be in the description. So yeah, let's jump in and make a fun little light bulb in Blender 4.2. So I'm going to put a link in the description below to a light bulb image from Pixels. It's a free site where you can get free images, and you can just go ahead and download it. Or if you wanted to, you could go ahead and find your own reference image if you don't like this one. But I'm just going to go ahead, download it. Now I've already done that, so once I downloaded it, I just dragged it out of my downloads folder and I put it onto my desktop. And let's jump into Blender, and I'm going to be using Blender 4.2 for this. And just so you guys can see, I'll also enable my screencast keys add-on, so you guys can see over here that the keys I'm pressing, you can see them. So let's simply go press A to select everything and press delete. And we want to just press 1 on our number pad to go into the front orthographic view, and let's just drag our Blender scene to the side, and let's just take that image and just take it and drag it straight into Blender like so. And then all you have to do is you have to go with it selected. You can go R to rotate it and G to move it, and kind of just roughly place it in the middle. We're not going to be following this exactly. It's just a rough guide for scale. And you can also, and by the way, this is a really cool thing with Blender 4.2, the build here. If you actually drag an image in now and you move out of perspective, out of orthographic, you can't see it in perspective. And I think that's really cool because generally we're modeling in orthographic view, not in perspective. So what you could do is with that plane active, you can just go over here to your object data properties and enable perspective, and you can see it, which I think is really cool. I'm just going to enable perspective for now and go G, Y, and move it back. And then turn off perspective again, and that should be fine. So let's go Shift A, let's go add in a cylinder, and we're just gonna go tab into edit mode. Let's go into X-ray up here, and let's just go S to scale that cylinder, and let's scale it up about the size of the bulb thread here. We're gonna go G, Z, just move it down again a little bit to match. And then let's just go into top orthographic, and we're just going to select just these two verts on the very side once we're in our top orthographic, and then go Control I or Command I. That just flips the selection, and then we can press delete and delete those verts, and all we have is this one over here. Now all we have to do is go to our modifiers, add modifier, search, and type in spin or screw. It's the screw tool, sorry. I was thinking of 3ds Max there for a second, but we're going to go to the screw tool. And now we have that. So in our front view again, orthographic, we can grab this vertex over here and go G to move it down. And let's take both of these two verts, let's just kind of place them here. Take one, move it out, and then let's go E to extrude and kind of bring it up like so. And now let's just come here and take our screw and give it a little bit. So it might vary for you, but I'm gonna go with about 0.07, and I'm gonna take the iterations up to 4. Just like that. And I'm going to turn off the X-ray now. So what you can do is in your front orthographic, you can just come here and adjust this. And we want to come here and enable merge and just bump it up a little bit. And what I'm going to do with this vertex here selected, I'm just going to go Control, Shift, and B to create a bevel on that vertex. Just like that. And I'm going to come over here and just select these two verts over here and go right click and go subdivide to add in another vertex, and just grab this one and move it down in here. So very simple shape like this. And now with that done, let's just tab out. Let's come here to the screw and apply it. And then we're gonna come here, add another modifier. We're gonna call it the weld. So type in weld, and there you go. And let's just come and bump this number up a little bit. Like so. And if you're not seeing anything, just tab into edit mode, press A to select everything, go Alt N, and just recalculate outside so it fixes those normals. So going back into object mode, we should be able to keep bumping up this distance so everything kind of fuses together the way we want. So there we go, and I'm going to come here and apply that. And now in edit mode, we can see this is what we have. Pretty cool. So I'm just going to go to this edge select here, Shift Alt left click on this edge just to loop select it. I'm going to go Control B just to create a bevel because I've kind of accidentally gotten rid of that. But I'm just going to add a bevel there just to kind of emphasize that groove a little bit more. But what we want to do over here is we want to go and select this bottom edge and double G just to slide it. And then grab this edge and just kind of scale it and rotate it. Just like that. And maybe it's easier just to grab the vertex select and just kind of move these out a little bit like so. There we go. And let's just do the same thing here. We're going to grab this vertex here and let's just move these guys out a little bit. And then we can go to here at the bottom, Shift Alt left click on this edge to loop select it. And in the front orthographic view, you're going to go E to extrude and Z, move it down. And with it still selected, you're going to go Shift Alt and S and just round it out. S to scale it a little bit, and then SZ0 and hit enter. And now we've kind of have it rounded out more or less, but we might have to go to the bottom orthographic view and just go G and just move it till it's roughly in the middle, something like that. And then in our front view, we're just gonna go E to extrude and extrude it down a bit, and then E to extrude again, S to scale, and let's just press E to extrude, S to scale, and then F to fill that face, bring it down a bit, maybe extrude that in again, and here we have it. You can slide in some extra loops if you want, optional, but there we have it. That's kind of like the bottom of our light bulb. And now we're just gonna go Shift Alt left click to loop select this top. We're gonna go E to extrude and Z, move it up, S, Z, and 0 to flatten it. And with Shift Alt S, we're just gonna round this out, S to scale it a bit, and in your top orthographic view, you can just come here and kind of just line that up roughly. So it's in the middle. And there we go. So now we have this shape. I might have to just scale it a bit in the front view here, like that, and then E to extrude it up just a little bit on the Z. But more or less, we have the bottom part here. So what we're going to do is we're going to tab out. We're going to right click, make sure it's shade smooth for everything. And let's go ahead and give it a subdivision surface model under our modifiers. And now I think the easy part is making the bulb. So we're going to go Shift A. Let's just add in a circle. And let's just tab into edit mode and scale that circle, like so. And in our top view, let's just select the vertex here on the side, Control I to inverse the selection and press delete. Delete those verts. And now let's just go to our modifiers and give it a screw. And there we go. And now it's spun all the way around. So now if we select this vertex and we go E to extrude and Z and extrude it up, we can see we have it spinning around. So now all we have to do in our front orthographic view is just kind of match it up more or less to this light bulb. So I'm going to take this end vertex and I'm just going to keep extruding by pressing E, and I'm just going to follow the shape as evenly as possible, going all the way around, following the light bulb reference. This doesn't have to be 100% exact, just get it more or less in place. And I'm going to keep going. And by the time you get to this top, you're going to see you have this hole here. So just bring it as close as you can and then enable merge and bump it up just a little bit. So now we have our light bulb. And it's at this point we can go back into object mode and you can select this guy over here, and in wireframe you can kind of just try and get it to match the model or the reference image a little bit, just by kind of making a little bit of a lip, extruding it in, something like that. But more or less, I think it kind of is the idea we're going for. I might scale it up just a little bit. Move it up to the light bulb, something like that. But as long as it's sitting under here, and then we can grab the light bulb, we can come here and apply that screw. And let's go ahead and give it a subdivision surface. And there we have it. So now we've made the more tricky bits, especially if you're new to Blender. It can be hard modeling something like this sort of bottom screw thread. But I think the next bit is quite simple. So let's just hide the light bulb. And then we're going to go Shift A, we're going to go to Mesh Options, add in a UV sphere. G, Z, move it up, and then S to scale it. And we're just going to move it right here where this kind of thing is over here. And then we're going to go S, Z, and flatten it. And we're kind of trying to just make this thing that sits over here, this part. So once we have this kind of flattened sphere, we're going to tab into edit mode, and we're just going to select this bottom vertex. And if you go Control+, you can grow to selection. So we're going to grow it about that much. And back in the front orthographic view, we'll extrude it down, S to scale. Then we'll go E to extrude it down again, E to extrude down, S to scale, E to extrude, and let's go to here, S to scale. And let's just roughly match the shape of this glass bit here inside. Something like that. And with all of these bottoms still selected, let's just go X and delete those faces. And now we have this thing here, but what we're going to do in our right orthographic view, we'll select all of these bottom bits. We're going to go S, Y, and just flatten them. So that in the front, all we see is this. And then you just have to go to your modifiers and go and give this a sub and give it a subdivision surface. And you can come in here and go Control R and just left click to add in a loop, S to scale, and you can kind of just adjust it and fine tune it a little bit by sliding in some more loops, but that's just extra if you wanted to do that. But we just want a very simple shape like this. I'm going to tab back out, I'm going to right click and go Shade Smooth. And now in our front view, let's make these wires. So we're going to go Shift A, go to our curves and add in a Bezier curve. I'm going to go G and move it up so the origin point sits over here, right there. Then we're going to tab into edit mode and select these handles. S, Y, 0 to flatten it. And with them both still selected, we're just going to move it so the first handle here sits near the origin point. And then we can grab this top handle here by itself and go G and move that, rotate it a bit. And I'm just actually going to select both of them and go S to scale them down. And we just want it kind of going from the bottom here to the top, like so. Very simple curve, just going there like that. And then we're going to tab back out and let's go over to our curve object data properties for the curve, and we'll go down to the geometry, and then under the bevel we'll give it some depth like so. And that's it. So now back in edit mode with this curve, you can always adjust it a little bit. I might just come in here and just extrude this handle down all the way into the inside. Nothing too fancy. And then if you wanted to in object mode, you could always duplicate this by going Shift D, rotate it over on this side and place one right over here, coming off from the side. Tab into edit mode and just adjust this one till it kind of matches the reference. And that's it. Now you can just grab this and holding and Shift select the other one, go Control J and join them together. And if you wanted to make these thinner wires here, you can just go Shift D to duplicate these two, move them up, S to scale right here, maybe even a bit smaller. And then tab into edit mode and then just adjust these to kind of match the reference here. See these really thin wires running right over here? Just those ones, like that. And you can kind of extrude the curve to kind of wrap around here like you see in the reference. I'm not going to do that because with the compositing, we'll have a bit of a glow, so you won't really see that too much anyway. So I'm going to tab back out. And now we can go Shift A, add in one more Bezier curve. We'll move this one up, we'll scale it down, and inside of edit mode, we'll just flatten it on the Y a little bit. And then over our curves here, we're just going to give it a little bit of depth under the bevel. And I'm just going to go ahead and as best as I can, just match it up to this orange kind of arc here that's glowing. And I'll just place it right here. There we go. Nice. And that's going to be the bit that glows really bright. Okay, so now let's go ahead, Alt H, just to bring back our light bulb. So we've got all of our components here. I'm just going to select this empty here, which is our background. I'm going to hide it and turn it off for the render. And now make sure to save your bulb. I'm going to save mine as bulb. And now let's go over to our render engine, change it to cycles. If you have a GPU, I recommend you use it. And then simply go down to your render here and change the samples to 50. And now in our front view, we're going to go Shift A, we're going to add in under our light options an area light. And go G, move it over, R to rotate it. And let's go to our light properties and give it a strength of 120. And then let's scale it up a little bit. Now if we go Z and we go rendered, this is what we see. So let's select our light bulb. Let's go to materials. Click new here and let's come to the principled and let's change it to glass. And let's drag down this roughness almost all the way to 0. Let's select the bottom bit here, the screw, and go plus. Let's now give that a metallic value by dragging it up to 1 and bring the roughness down to 0.2. And now we can also go ahead and select our light bulb, press H to hide it. Select this bit over here and come to the drop down and give it that glass material. In fact, let's just call it glass so we know. And I'm also going to select the bottom bit we added that metal to and just call it metal. And then I'm going to select these wires over here. I'm going to go new and call it wire 1. And I'm going to come to the base color and make it kind of like a coppery color. And then make it metallic and then bring down the roughness. And then I'm going to select these two here and go new and call that wire 2. I'm going to make it kind of yellowish, make it metallic and bring down the roughness. And then I'm going to select this thing over here, the glow bit, and go the filament here and go new. And let's just come here and call it glow. And then under the principled here, we're just going to change it to emission, and we're going to give it a strength of 300. And let's come here and make it kind of yellowish kind of color, like so. And now we can go Alt H to hide our, to bring back our light bulb here. And at the moment, we can grab this light here and go Shift D, rotate it, have it coming from the side, like so. But we need a background, so we're going to go Shift A, we're going to go to our mesh options, add in a plane, RX90 and hit enter. And we're just going to go G, Y and move it back. And then in our front view, we can go S to scale it up. And then S, X and make it a bit wider. And then if you wanted to, in your front view, you can go Shift A and add in a camera and move it back like so. And with your camera selected, go to your focal length under your camera settings, make it 90. Something like that. There we go, it's looking good. And if you see that the glass is looking really weird, what you have to do is just select it, tab into edit mode with the bulb, and if you go over here to your edit properties, you can go down to normals. You can see the normals are pointing inwards. So if we go with everything active, Alt N, and we recalculate the outside, we now tab back out, we can see our glass is behaving more like glass. And now this is already looking a lot better. So let's go Shift A, add in one more light. That's going to be our point light. G, Y, move it back and closer to the background here. And we want to take this guy and we want to give it a strength of 1200. Make it a little bit yellowish and then increase the radius of it. And now if we go to our front view and we go Z and go rendered. Okay, that's a little bit intense. So let's bring down that radius. And maybe let's just move it, the light just a little bit. I might just move it down. And I might just take that strength down to 800. Okay, there we go. That's looking a lot better. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure to save this and let's go render and then render the image. And there we have a beautiful light bulb, but we're not done yet. We can make this look even better. So let's close this window. Let's go to Compositing, click on Use Nodes, Shift A over here and search, and let's type in View. Let's grab a viewer node and plug the image into here. So now we can see it. And if you press V, you can kind of zoom back out. And what we're going to do now is hold in Shift and right click and just drag. So you cut these two cables together. And then over here, we're going to go Shift A, search and get a glare node. Place it over here on this cable. And now we've got this nice glow. But what we're going to do, we're going to change it here to bloom. And let's take this quality, make it high. And the threshold, we want to take that up to 20. And the size, we want to bring that way down. So let's take it down to something like 5 or 4. Just where I have this nice kind of glow. Something like that. And now that's looking really good. And if you want to make it look even better, you could always go Shift A, search and get a lens distortion node, place it on here. And then let's just go give this a distortion of 0.01 and a dispersion of 0.02. And then enable fit, and now it kind of fits it to the composition. And now if we go V, just to zoom out, you can kind of see this is what we have. So now there we have it. So every time we render it now with the compositing, it's going to render it like this with that nice glow over here. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this on making a light bulb. I'll be uploading this model to my Patreon. I'll put a link to that in the description. And I hope you guys have a nice day.